Hi, my name is Cassie, and today I'm going to be talking about the basics of creative coding by doing a little live coding in p5.js. So if you've just seen some of the past talks and you're feeling really inspired or kind of like intimidated, like, wow, I don't even know how I could possibly ever do this, then I think this talk is for you. But first, I want to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Cassie. I am a technologist, an artist, and educator, so that means that I do a few different things. One thing I do is I work on the software for creative tools. So this is a picture of a graphical programming language called Max MSP. It's like a musical programming language. It's managed by a company named Cycling74 that I've worked with for a few years. I also teach. Here is a picture of me teaching a Max workshop this past summer to some high school students. And I also teach at a grad program at NYU called ITP, or Interactive Telecommunications Program. And I've taught creative coding there for about 2 years. I also have my own creative practice. This is a picture of me performing in a musical project called Lullabies for AI, which was about writing songs to teach our AI children how to love and exist in the world. But really what I want to talk about today is p5.js, something that's near and dear to my heart. P5 is an open source JavaScript library for creative coding. The focus on making coding accessible and inclusive. And it's managed by this foundation called Processing Foundation, and is created by a person named Laura McCarthy about 7 years ago. So you would use P5 to make interactive audiovisual art. So that means stuff like, you can draw shapes, you can alter like videos and images, you can do data visualizations, have some quick examples just so you can kind of see stuff made with P5. Here's an example. Here's an example of like a video shader. You can also make like an interactive movie poster, which is what this is. You can do lots and lots of stuff. But P5 was really inspiring to me because my background is in engineering, and when I first started learning how to code, I was writing like command line applications in Java, and like the whole thing was like really intimidating and scary to me. And I felt like after I like spent all this time learning, I like didn't actually know how to make anything. And for me, P5 was really inspiring that like I could know very little and be able to make a lot. So I loved it so much that I started my own open source project, which was an in-browser code editor for P5. So the idea here is that like you really remove the barrier to entry for writing code or writing creative code, and you just like have the code on the left, preview on the right, could just like open this website and get started. And so this is what we're going to use to do some live coding. So let's have some fun now. So I'm just going to open the web editor, and this is like the sketch that you get when you first open it. So I'm just going to hit play, and we can see what we get. And we just get this like kind of boring gray square, but let's like break down what we've done here, or what it gives us. So first important line we have here is create canvas. And this is creating like our drawing surface where we're going to draw all of our visual elements. And it just takes like a width and a height as arguments. So I could like make this bigger, and then we'd have something bigger, right? And then we have a background. And this is just like painting a whole big color, like one color over the whole canvas. And this argument that it takes is a color. And this color can be like, you can specify it in a lot of different ways. So if we just have a number, then that's just a grayscale value, right? So if we put in 0, it's going to be black. If we put in 255, it's going to be white. If you're familiar with hexadecimal colors, that 255 is white, if you're used to like using colors on the web like that. You can also make it a red, green, blue value, right? So then if I just specify a red component, and then if I put in, I could put in blue component, and then it's going to be like this pink color. But yeah, colors are just numbers. And in fact, like to our computer, everything is numbers, right? Images, text, video, everything is just numbers. And that's really one of the like exciting parts of creative coding, is that we can like take these different numbers and like map them and interpret them and use them in different ways. One other thing I want to note is that there are these two functions, setup and draw, and these are being called behind the scenes by the P5 library. And so setup is being called one time, and draw is actually being called 60 times a second, right? It's just like constantly being executed over and over again. So computers are good at, and this is what allows us to make animations and that kind of stuff. So now what I want to do is I want to add like an interactive element here. And I just want to add like a really simple one so we can kind of understand it. And then we can like keep building on this. And this is how you might, if you were just like starting working on it, creative coding project, how you might just start. So what I want to do is I want to draw a circle at the mouse position. So the way that I do that is I use circle function, specified by p5, and then I can pass, it takes like a x and y position and a size. So I'm just going to put in the mouse x position. This is a variable that's provided by p5 that's just specified every draw loop. Every time the draw loop gets run, it gets updated. I'm just going to put in a size, and we can like see, oh, you see I have this in the wrong order. Background is getting drawn over it. We put this in the right order, and now we can see our circle, right? And if I move it around, I have the circle following me, and you're like, okay, Cassie, this is still kind of boring. Bear with me. So now I think it gets slightly more interesting when we move background up into setup, because then we're no longer like painting over the canvas every frame. And then we're able to like see this trail of me moving the mouse. And it's actually like a bad drawing app, and you kind of move the circle around faster and slower. I mean, you can like squint your eyes, you could like see this like 3-dimensional tube sculpture or something. It's kind of cool. But let's keep making this more interesting. What I want to do is I want to add some color to this, and I want to have the color be affected by the mouse position, right? I'm kind of doing like a one-to-one mapping here, where I'm just mapping the mouse position to like the position of the circle. But we can get a little more fancy. So let's change the color of the circle. And the way that we do that is we use a function called fill, which is the fill color. I'm going to put in mouse X for the red value. I'm just going to put in maximum for the green and blue. And let's see what that looks like. So as I move the circle across the canvas, we see that all the way on the left where the mouse X position is 0, it's like we can see just the green and blue components. And then as I move it to the right, it's white because all of those colors summed together is white. But one interesting thing to notice about this is it actually changes to white like halfway through the canvas. And that's not quite what I want, right? Like I want this to be like a nice gradient all across. And the reason that this is happening is because these two values, the position of the mouse and colors, have different ranges, right? The mouse position is a value between 0 and the width of the canvas. And colors are values between 0 and 255. So we need to take the mouse position and map it to the right range. And the way that we do that is we use a function called map. I've been saying this word map and I couldn't think of it. Redval equals map. And so map takes 5 arguments, one of which is the input, and then the input range, and then the output range. So the minimum, maximum, the minimum, and maximum. So this is going to be a value between 0 and width. P5 also just gives us width of the canvas. P5 is very nice to us, gives us the things that we want. And now as we move, I have to actually use this variable rather than just define it. And then as we move the mouse across, we can see that now we have like a nice gradient, and we can like enjoy it even more. Maybe I'll remove the stroke around it. Ooh, and then we could like kind of draw around and we get like a nice gradient. So that's fun. But now I want to like keep playing with this. I want to like use a different shape here. I happen to like using a line. And I want to, the line takes like a start and end position, and I'm just going to like offset the start X. I'm going to make it like, you'll see what I mean. Level with the X, but a little bit offset to the left and right. So I'm going to do mouse X minus 50, mouse Y, it takes X, Y, X, Y, mouse X plus 50, mouse Y. Cool, and we're not going to see anything because I removed the stroke, and lines are an empty shape. They have no fill, they only have strokes. I actually just need to like get rid of my circle, and then I need to specify a stroke color. If I just call stroke with a color, then I got a color. Now if I start drawing here, yeah, I get like a line. but I'm still not liking this variation in color. I want to add a little bit more. And so I'm going to have the mouse Y control the green position. So then I'm going to change this to green val, make this mouse Y, make this height, right? Because Y is a value between 0 and height. Y positive is actually down. Takes some getting used to. It's actually really common in like everything digital. I don't know. Did a lot of creative coding frameworks. Okay, cool. So now I'm getting more color variation that I like. It's kind of like vaporwavy colors, and I could like play around with these color ranges and like see what I like. I'm happy with this color range. So I'm going to keep going. It's kind of nice as I like move my line around. I can see how like they overlap and make these like textural shapes. I'm liking this. But now what I want to do is I want to add some rotation to this line to like have a little bit more to see like what other kind of shapes arise there. And so there's a p5 function called rotate, and it takes one argument that's an angle, and it takes by default radians, which maybe is scary, but unfortunately in creative coding you have to do I feel like you have to do a lot of math. Like anytime you're arranging visual stuff on the screen, it's like you have to do math. And my students are always like, oh no, I thought we were avoiding math by going to art school. I'm like, ha ha ha, you have to learn trigonometry. You have to remember trigonometry. Okay, well, as I'm like trying to use this rotate, it's like not really working how I want. Like I wanted it to rotate the shape, but like as I have my mouse over here, it's like now the position is all skewed and I don't really understand what's happening. Well, I'm pretending that I don't understand what's happening. I do understand what's happening. I have an example here to show you. So it's like offset in this weird way. And so what's happening is, so here's an example where I'm rotating a rectangle at the origin. I've actually translated the origin here to the center of the screen. And so we'll see if the second square, which is the blue one, I've rotated it pi over 4, like the same amount, 45 degrees. And we'll see that it rotates in place, right? When you rotate something at the origin, it just rotates the shape. But if you move the rectangle out from the axes, so here I'm setting the X and Y position. So the red one is the unrotated one that's connected with the black axes, and the blue one is the rotated one. You see how like its XY position gets moved. And so that's what's happening in our sketch. Now I don't want that to happen. I want it to get rotated in place. So then what I need to do is translate the axes to the mouse X and mouse Y position. Mouse X, mouse Y, right? And then what I need to do is then draw the line back at the origin. So then I get rid of this 0, make this 0, get rid of you, get rid of you. Oh, I got to put a 0 here actually. Cool. What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? What's happening? Cute. Oh, negative 50 to 50. I was like, the line had no size. Okay, cool. So now I have a rotated line. And this is fun, but it's kind of just like the same thing that we were doing, but it's like tilted. Yeah, but now I want to, now that I'm like able to rotate it how I want to like have the rotation change with the mouse X and mouse Y position. So let's create a new variable called rotation. I'm going to use our trusty friend map again. I'm going to do mouse Y, which I know is a value between 0 and height. And let's map it to a value between 0 and pi. Pi is also just provided by p5. So now I can get some squiggly shapes as I move my mouse, and that's fun. I could try making this like 2 pi. Like honestly, if I'm like playing around with mapping and something like this, like I'm not like thinking about this too hard. I just kind of like put in a random number and just like see what it looks like. It's really nice that like you can just write code, you know, and then just like immediately see what it looks like and be like, oh, that looks good, that looks bad. And that's just really common in creative coding. Oh, I like how this kind of had this like fan shape. It kind of looks like a leaf or something. Cool. So now I could also try playing around with like the line size. I want the line to be bigger, 300, and then I kind of get like a totally different, a different effect So now, like, I don't like that every time I do this, I have to like move my mouse around to test it. I just want to hit play and have the computer do the work for me. And so that's a really nice thing about using computers when you're trying to make visual art, is that you can just hit play a bunch of times and like see what it generates and pick the ones that you like. It's like you're letting the computer do the hard work, doing what it's good at. And you can also have it like have some randomness. So every time you hit play, it does something different, and then pick the good ones. And so the way that I want this, like the line position to move, is I have this like bouncing ball example, and I want it to like just bounce around the canvas like this and rotate around, and we'll kind of see what that looks like. And because I already have this example, like I'm not like, you know, it's all this is doing is really just like, it has some X and Y position, and it's just updating the speed it's updating the position with the speed. And then when it hits the wall, it's just reversing the X speed or the Y speed. It's pretty simple. And really, like, I don't want to think about how to do this again. Like, I know this code works. So I'm just going to go back to my example and paste it. Only thing I need to do is merge my setups, so I don't have two setup functions. The one that comes second is the one that's going to override. Okay, so now I have this, and if I hit play, it's just going to be the same because I haven't connected it at all. I also need my code that's in my draw loop that's doing all the updating. So I'm just going to copy that, go to my draw loop. And now, so this is my code that's updating the position, and this is the code that's making it bounce off the walls. And in the other example, I had this circle that had a diameter, but my line has no diameter. I just want it to directly hit the wall. And so in this case, D is 0, so I can just get rid of these Ds or set it to 0 where it makes sense. Okay, so now if I hit play, it's still not working because I haven't actually connected it. So what I need to do is change this to X. Every time I have mouse X or mouse Y, got to change it to mouse X. Change it to X or Y. Whew. Okay, so now I can just like let it hit play and just like see what happens. Ooh, that's kind of fun. I really like how it looks if the speed is a little bit slower. Ooh, I like that. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, when you have it slower, you get these moire patterns that I really like, because the line is then closer together. Yeah, ooh, this is fun. This feels like math textbook energy. It would be like multivariate calculus 3rd edition or something. I don't know. Cool. So I hope this has given you an example of how you might just like start from something really, really simple and like iterate on an idea and just like play around. If I hit play a bunch of times, I could get totally different things. Oh, this is cool. Like how it's just spinning in the center. Ooh, I could like take a screenshot there and be like, this is my art piece. You can really generate cool ideas. But now I want to show you how to take like different types of inputs and how you might just like take some code that maybe you don't know and just like just sort of like plug different things together, and also work with libraries that you maybe don't know. So what I want to do is I have this example that is in one of the P5 examples. I'm like, where did I put it? And what it is that it's really simple synthesizer. So like when I just press the mouse, it like plays a sound, and just changing the mouse position changes the amplitude and frequency. And I'm like, this is great. I want it. And then what I want to do is I want this synthesizer to be controlled by my face. What I want it to happen is like when I open my mouth, I want it to play a note. So how do I do that? Well, luckily, there's this JavaScript library called CLM Tracker that I know is really easy to use and really great at doing face tracking. So I'm like, cool, I can kind of look at this documentation. I see it gives me a bunch of points for like where my mouth and eyes are and stuff. I'm just going to need to figure out like the distance my mouth opens, right? So I'm going to need to like measure the distance between 60 and 57. And I have some example code. And so here I have open the CDN, so I can just like copy it to my sketch. I can then put it in my HTML. yeah, so this on the right is actually it's like a whole web page that's running in an iframe here. So yeah, that's how I add new files to my sketch. And if I hit play, nothing's going to happen. Well, actually, I need to get my face input, right? Like I'm not getting my video in here. So what I need to do is create a function, a variable called capture. I'm actually going to change, I want my synthesizer to be a sawtooth instead. I think it's more annoying and I like that. So then I'm going to do capture equals create capture. This is another function provided by p5 that allows us to get video input. And then I'm going to do capture dot size 400 to 25. And so now we can see there's my face in double, because you can also see my face over this thing. And then what I want to do is you can see that it's like not on the canvas, and that's because this actually creates a totally different video element on the screen. It's like literally a video tag. I'm doing this for triangle for the HTML element. And so I want to draw it to the canvas. And so let's first set my canvas to the same size. And then I'm going to do use the image function. This draws an image to the P5 canvas at some position. All I have to do is pass the image or video, capture 0, 0. And then we see now I have two of me, and I can like hide the other one, capture dot hide. And so now if I click on my face, I have the synthesizer here. I don't want any of this text here. Okay, so now I have my face, and then I need to get the points in my face, and I know I'm going to need to like somehow plug it into this amplitude and frequency, right? So now what I want to do is go to the face tracking thing, and I want to just get the starter code. So I'm just going to copy this. It's the initialization code. Then I have my tracker. I want to make this a global variable. I like can't even let a var exist in the world. I'm like, var is evil and it must not exist. So I initialize it, init, and then I need to connect my video input. This was just the video input from the example. So then I need to put capture, but I have to put capture.elt because P5 has its own wrapper for DOM elements. Okay, so now I have this, and I'm still not going to see anything because I'm not actually getting my face points. So then I need to go here, and this is the line of code I need. This is the friend that I need. I'm going to come back here, go into my draw loop, and call this line. And then what I want to do is I want to iterate through all of the positions. It gives me like however many positions, like 60 something, and draw like little circles on all of them so we can like visualize those points. So then what I need to do, I have to put this in this is just a thing that I know from running through this a bunch of times, is that positions doesn't get defined immediately. So you have to just, you have to do it like this. Because I want to do positions dot for each, and it was like throwing me errors like positions is not defined, but I'm going to save you. I'm going to save you that. Okay, so yeah, I have my for each loop, and then I want to draw a circle at each point. So first I need to set my fill color, which I'm just going to make red. Then I need to I'm going to do no stroke. And then I'm going to draw a circle at each point. So I'm going to do circle, positions at 0, positions at 1. So the way this positions array works is that it's an array of two-dimensional arrays where 0 is x and 1 is y. So I'm just going to do circle 0, 0, 5. They're going to be real tiny. Cool. So let's see. I think I spelled it wrong. Positions. Wow. Made up a new variable. Okay, cool. So now let's see if that's working. Hey, it has my face points. So that's fun. So now I'm going to make this a little smaller. Make this 3. Now I need to figure out what my mouth distance is. And so the way that I do that is I need points 60 and 57, and I need to like find the distance between them. And I can't just subtract the y components. I need to like do some vector math, like if my face is tilted, but luckily I can just let p5 do all the vector math for me and I don't have to think about it. So what I need to do is create two variables, mouth top and mouth bottom. And this is going to be create vector. It's going to be positions at 60, 0, positions at 61. Let's make this bigger so you can see it. And then I'm going to do the same thing, but mouth bottom, but it's going to be 57, 57. And then I just need to get the vector difference and magnitude of that difference to get the distance of the mouth. So then I'm going to do const mouth dist is going to be mouth top dot subtract mouth bottom dot mag. And this is all p5 functions. This is all p5 vector stuff. So now what I want to do is like, I need to figure out what the range is for my mouth. And this is, God, screenshots it. So what I need to do is just like see what range of values I get. And so this is really common when you're trying to work with some kind of input in your creative coding projects. You've got to like see what your range looks like. And usually I'll just like print it to the console. Mouth, yeah, it's because mouse dist is not defined. Mouth. Okay, so it seems like it's a number from like 3 to 17. I can't talk while I'm trying that out. Okay, so now we have our values. Oh, so I need to make this global. I need to do let, or more global, mouth dist. Don't need to print it out anymore. And then I just need to connect it. So let's connect it to the amplitude. So then I can just do mouth dist, which I know is a value. What did I say? It was between like 3 and 17. I'm gonna make it 4 to 17. I'm gonna make this a value between 0 and 0.5 in case it's like really loud. Okay, moment of truth. Nice. So now I have this like kind of stupid mouth synthesizer, but it literally took me like 10 minutes to make, which is pretty exciting. And this, you know, I could make this much more exciting and like make the sound elements more exciting. I could use like a better face tracker. This is just the easiest one to use, but I could also maybe connect it to the frequency too. Let's try that. We could just do the same thing, mouth dist, which is a number between 4 and 17. So yeah, that's your mouth synthesizer project. Cool. I hope you've enjoyed learning how to make visual art and a weird mouth synthesizer. Cool. So now I want to go just sort of have some closing remarks here. Well, I've sort of summarized my points about creative coding in the slide that you probably can't read if you want to like screenshot it and read it later. But really, I've tried to cover just like some of the basic stuff you would do in creative coding. And a lot of these principles apply to any creative coding environment, whether it be something like open frameworks or MaxMSP or Sonic Pi or shaders or whatever, all applies. I want to encourage you to learn P5, which I love so much. This is a screenshot from a YouTube channel called The Coding Train, just taught by a person named Dan Schiffman, who's on the board of Processing Foundation and makes really amazing tutorials. But there's tons of other ways to learn. Like you can read, there's tons of examples on the P5 website, so many books, tutorials. There's tons of stuff if you want to learn more. I also encourage you to join the P5 community, which just really inspires me every day. This is a picture from the P5 Contributors Conference, which happened this past August at Carnegie Mellon. You can see me here. It's just a really amazing opportunity to meet in person. These are a lot of people who I like talk to over the internet, over GitHub a lot as I'm working on the web editor. It's really awesome to just see everyone in person. And I also encourage you to contribute. If you have wanted to contribute to open source tools, this is a great place to start. It's a really friendly and open community. And there's so many different ways to contribute. You can contribute code, but contributing to open source is not just writing code. You can do documentation, you can teach, you can create. You can also just donate money. If you want to donate money to Processing Foundation and keep this project going, P5 and the web editor, highly recommend. Lastly, I just want to say thank you so much for watching. If you want to follow me on Twitter or GitHub, these are my handles, and I hope you have learned something or loved watching me frantically live stream or frantically live code. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference.